Welcome to the 208 Fantasy Football Show. It's Saturday night, and we are talking a little fantasy football news, little second-year player action, and we'll do a mock draft. 208 starts right now. Gentlemen, it's Saturday night. How we doing?
Awesome. Just been packing up my house, trying to get my house ready to sell, move across the state. So it's been a real ton of work. I know Chance is real sad about it, but
yep. I'm real sad, man.
Gotta make those decisions.
Well, welcome to the show. Chance is live with us. Chance, thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, have you part of the team.
Yeah, guys.
And we are going to just kick this thing right off right now and talk about a little bit of NFL and a little bit of NFL news.
What's going on?
So
Lamberry, what do you got for us?
So the biggest thing I just saw this on Twitter because I'm always on Twitter. I just saw like this drop from the Colin Cowherd show. They were interviewing Chase Daniels, who's been a long-time backup quarterback forever. So apparently when he was on the Chiefs, they had Justin Herbert had his quarterback coach. That was his guy. Like he was very adamant that was his coach. And I think they lost the playoff game a couple years ago, and they fired that quarterback coach. And I think from what Chase Daniels said, he said like Justin Herbert was pretty pissed off about it. Like that kind of soured that Staley relationships, which I don't think Brandon Staley was a good coach. I think Chance can attest to that too. Like I just think he was a bad coach in general. And the funny thing that comes out is so Jim Harbaugh gets hired there as the Chargers, and he immediately hires this guy back to be the quarterback coach. So it'd be kind of interesting to see that dynamic where I think a lot of people have swung so far the other way with the Chargers where it's like, man, they're going to run the ball all this time. They're going to run the ball 400, 500 times. It's like they still have Justin Herbert. Like they're still going to rely on him to be that tractor to pull that team. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how they merge those offenses. I think Greg Roman is their OC, which you know anything about Greg Roman, he loves to run the ball. Then I'll let Chance and Matt hit a little bit of their news, but Ayuk came out and said he wanted $30 million a year. He wants some Amon St. Brown money. So it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers give him that. But, yeah, I guess, Matt, I'll turn it over to you. Talk a little bit about your Bears.
Yeah, you bet. Just a quick add-on to your Chargers. Remember, the 49ers threw the least amount in the league, and it was 490-some attempts. Absolutely, the Chargers are going to throw the ball. They'll eclipse 500 for sure. So, and that's still a lot of attempts for a lot of those position wide receivers, tight ends. But talking to the Bears, yeah. So Caleb Williams, my quarterback savior, didn't have a real good, I guess, practice on Thursday. There was throwing interceptions all over. They kind of got on him a little bit, in which we kind of talked a little bit about before. He kind of plays a little bit of hero ball, and I think he was trying to do that in practice, and they were forcing him to sit in the pocket, and he struggled a little bit against the Bears defense. But, hey, it's one day. It's one practice. There's going to be a ton of news on it, and there's already been, people kind of freaking out a little bit. It's one practice. It's one bad practice. Let it go.
I gotta trade him. Gotta trade him right now.
Yeah, gotta trade him right now.
Sell high right now.
He'll be fine.
He's not the truth, man. I just don't think he's. What if he's not the chosen one? Could you imagine?
No, he has to be our chosen one. No, and we'll see. I've got him in a couple of leagues, so a couple dynasty leagues. So I'm hopeful. But Chance, what do you got as far as the news goes?
Well, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a diehard Broncos fan. Have been for a long time, and just I've followed stuff out of camp there. There's a lot of talk about QB competition, and we also get to enjoy a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. And I think there's still going to be some legitimate QB competition in that backfield, just for who's going to start the season. But even Colin Cowherd, I saw reported that Bo Nix just seems to be that guy, which is super cool. The other thing that I found really interesting as far as fantasy goes is a bunch of the beat reporters who got to attend their first OTA there just mentioned that there's a ton of packages for Nick Kroll, who is this tight end that they have. And they picked him up. Lucas Kroll, not Nick Kroll, Lucas. Yep. But anyway, he came over from the Saints. wasn't even a Peyton guy, but he came over from the Saints, and they kind of got him fired up a little bit last year at the end of the year. But apparently, they have a ton of different packages for him. He's 6'6", he's 260. The dude's a monster. So, like, just I love me a good young sleeper tight end. He's a guy that popped up that, of course, as a Bronco, I'm like, oh, nice, yeah. But I didn't, you don't want to tell too many people about it.
Yeah, gotta keep those
That's
secret.
perfect.
You got to keep those.
He's worth keeping an eye on for sure through OTAs and whatnot. If he's able to get some reps and whatnot, that will be huge for those Broncos as they try to kind of figure out their offense and what they look like. So finding their identity.
Nice.
But good stuff. Good stuff. That'll do it for the news. We got kind of a new segment. This one's kind of fired up by Lineberry. So here we go.
I got some burning questions. I got some burning questions. I got some burning questions.
So
go ahead, Lineberry. Fire it off.
So being the person as a teacher, like having so much time off now, like it's summer, like I just think about fantasy football questions and like just like random thoughts that I have throughout the day, and like again, like scrolling through Twitter, like gets like conversation between me and myself, just going. So there's a few questions I wanted to ask you guys. Well, the first one is kind of more football related, or you could be like, hey, if the Bears could have these 3 players or the Broncos could have these 3 players, like who would you pick? So out of these 2 cores, who would you rather have? So it's the Jets core and the Lions core. So would you rather have Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Quentin Williams, or Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, and Amon St. Brown?
Chance, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think if I had to choose, I would go with the Lions core. I think you see, and this happens in Kansas City, right? Like you see Kansas City as a team that just won the Super Bowl. At the start of the season, you were like, who are their corners going to be? Like you get a lot of years where you get question marks at corners, and then the scheme pays off for that. There's nothing can replace, a stud cornerback. And I'm super glad the Broncos have Pat Surtain. But I think that for me, the kicker in that personnel grouping is Aiden Hutchinson. Like I think it's just super hard to have that guy on the edge, and when you can have guys who put pressure on the quarterback, that affects their passing rhythm as much as a good, secondary does. So I think I'd give the edge to the Lions in that, just because I really think having a premier pass rusher, a guy who can really put pressure on the quarterback, to me, that trumps Sauce. And then I think it's a toss-up between Amon-Ra and Wilson. Yeah, you got to get to the quarterback and you got to defend the quarterback. And I think the Lions trump the Jets in that position.
I'm going to agree. And I'll add one thing, and I know you're just looking at players, but I love the head coach of the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. I was like, give me those guys with that head coach. Done.
I just want that much testosterone in my life.
It just go. It just makes a lot of sense there for me.
Mike kneecaps, baby. I'm a big I love Amon St. Brown. Like Amon-Ra, like he might be one of my favorite players. And like, I don't know how I feel about Garrett Wilson. Like I probably have him in 90% of my leagues. And like, I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about him. Like, should I trade him? But I feel the same way. Like, I love Penei Sewell. Like, he's probably the closest thing to Trent Williams we have in this league. But like, I think Trent Williams is the best football player in the NFL, regardless of position. Like, guy's a freak. All right, my next one. I think me and Matt talked a little bit about this already, and I talked to the other guy. I talked to Chance about this with the other guy. So, do you believe the Jameson Williams and Quentin Johnson hype at a training camp right now?
I'll take this one out of the gate here. Yes and no. I like the Jameson Williams hype. I think he's on a revenge tour type thing where he's kind of messed up. And that kid was so phenomenal coming out of college, just ridiculous. I know he got the injury and whatnot, but I think he's on a mission and realize that if he gets it right, if he can help this team, they are on a Super Bowl path, right? I think he could be the missing link for them. So I believe in that. Now, Quentin Johnson, he needs help. Can Lad McConkey help him? And Quentin's not a number one to me, right? He's talented. He's probably needs to be what he was in college, just catch the ball and go. Mm-hmm. But in Lad's your true route runner. And maybe he'll help him there. But I'm not sold on Quentin Johnson just yet. I need to see more, but Jameson Williams, you get her done.
Yeah, see, that's where I think I would disagree with you. Just on my end, like I think Quentin Johnson, he came in, he had some drops, he really struggled on the field, and I think that that's a thing that I'm hoping, since he's a young enough prospect, I think he can really continue to work on that stuff. And you're right, take some of the pressure off, give them a true number one in Ladd, and then you've got QJ, with less coverage, the ability to go out and do some of that jump ball stuff that he was so fun to watch do at TCU, where they just airballed him, the ball. And I think that goes back to our Justin Herbert conversation of, I think they're not just going to run the ball 1,000 times. Honestly, I think the thing that's going to go up with Justin Herbert more than anything is his yards per attempt. I think are going to go through the roof this year. If you look at numbers, that'll increase the most because they're going to run the ball, get defenses to stack that box. And then you can either cut them apart with Ladd, or you can really air that out when you have one-on-one with QJ on the sidelines. And part of that is I'm a bitter former JMO owner in Dynasty, right? Like I drafted him. I was like, this guy's the truth.
Guilty.
It's awesome. And then I packaged him as a throwaway in a trade a year ago just to get him off my team because I was so frustrated with his injuries and his lack of production. And I really hope that I hope Jameson Williams wants to be better at football and wants to get involved and is on a mission. But you have those, and I hate saying this about a guy, but he always struck me as a guy who was good at football but didn't love football. And like it felt like his effort, I don't know, and it's hard to say that through injuries, but I always just felt like, if you want to go be that guy, Puka Munuku, he went and was that guy. And so I would bet on QJ, improving a skill set that, wide receivers have to have in catching over the risk of JMO's injury history. And then, just how long it's taken him. Like it's taken him this long to get integrated into the offense and gain the trust of the head coach and gain the trust of the quarterback. Part of me says that's more of a red flag to me than what Quentin Johnson had last year.
Nice.
Yeah, I won't disagree. JMO's got some he reminds me of that kid that just makes everything look easy. And so he thinks it's why can't everybody do this? And I think he's ran into that like, oh wow, if I don't produce this year, they might ship me. I could be done here. And I don't want to be shipped from a team that's on the rise. So that's to me is like I got to give it everything this year. But we'll see. Your thoughts are definitely valid for sure.
I think I signed with Chant on this one. Like I would sell Jameson right now. Like maybe wait a month, but like I think he's gonna have really high, like people are gonna come after him. But like the QJ thing, like it comes back to college. Like Jim Harbaugh saw QJ, like QJ beat that Michigan team. Like I think he ran a crosser. They was 70 yards at God. So I feel like Jim Harbaugh is gonna be like, this guy beat us. He beat a really good Michigan team, and like I think they're gonna figure out a way to use him. And like again, Jameson Williams is at best the fourth option on that offense, at best, with Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, and Gibbs. QJ's got a chance to be the one. He's got a realistic chance. He's got a better lab. That's probably about it. All right, my last one. Then I'll let Chance answer my last question after this is strictly fantasy. Which offense are you taking? Are you taking the Panthers offense and their playmakers? Are you taking the Chargers offense and their playmakers with a very good quarterback? Are you taking the Titans offense with their plethora of wide receivers and running backs? You have to take all those guys and you have to start them all in your lineup.
I think, Matt, I'll just pop in. If the question is what guys do you want on your team for fantasy, I think for me the easy question is the Chargers, only because it's the only quarterback that I really trust to distribute the ball. So if I have to have those wide receivers and I have to have those running backs and I have to know that they're going to be in position to score touchdowns, give me Justin Herbert to do that over Bryce Young, who struggled, and I hope he has a good bounce back. And, he was the pick that they didn't turn out what they wanted to be. But Will Levis, man, that guy's got a live arm. He's super fun. I think that they believe in him. and he needs to take technical strides forward. But can you really trust either of those two quarterbacks to provide fantasy value to the receivers and get into the red zone and put you in positions to score? I don't.
It's so fun to watch you talk good about Herbert. I'm loving it.
Dude, hey, I got to be a guy who supports Oregon quarterbacks now as a Bo Nix showing up.
For
Matt,
sure.
what do you think?
I don't want any. I don't want any of them. I really like Herbert from a fantasy value, though. I worry about Harbaugh's offense. Not that they can't move the ball or anything, just the amount of fantasy points they'll put up. There are other offenses I would like to have, but if you're going to force me to choose Chargers, that just makes the most sense for now. I don't have a lot of faith in the other two yet. If I'm going to rank the other two, I'd probably Will Levis right now. It's because they're going to give him. At least they've built around him a little bit, trying to give him some help and whatnot. So, but I don't know.
I'm so surprised I'm different than both of you guys on this because I want the Titans offense, dude. I think they're going to be so fun to watch. I think Callahan is going to. They have a really good offensive line coach, probably the best in the league, coming over his dad. And then the OC was the Bengals OC. Like, they're going to throw the ball around. Like, Will Levis might have a Jameis Winston season, but that was pretty good fantasy football season when he threw 30 and 30. I mean, and he's going to run around, like he's going to make some dumb stuff, but like they got 4 good wide receivers. They got 2, I think, decent running backs. I don't know if Tony Pollard's good, but I think Taji's good.
So if you're talking his knee. Yeah. If you're talking upside, Justin, and yeah, for sure. Right.
I'm going to take my shot for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But that downside's also like on the bench.
Yeah, we're going to throw a ton of receptions.
It's like quarterback change. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. My last one, Chance. Talk to me about the Broncos backfield. I feel like they got 5 good running backs. I don't know what's going on. I'm just hearing a bunch of stuff about it.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be really hard to decide who you want to buy in fantasy from that backfield because you've got Javonte, who is the incumbent. He's been there, post devastating knee injury. He came back, 2 months earlier than they thought he was going to last year. And we all know that running backs who come back after an injury, they always take a little bit of time to warm up. And people say that maybe he soured in Sean Payton's offense, and then they have Samaje Perine. They have Estime, they have McLaughlin, and then they have another rookie undrafted free agent in Ben Watson. So Blake Watson. So you have all these guys. And if I had to guess, it's tough. Some of the stats that I found about that, as far as those quarterbacks go, or those running backs go, is that I just want a piece of that backfield because in the last 10 years, Sean Payton or Joe Lombardi, their OC, has only been outside of the top 3 for targets to running backs twice in the last 10 years. His team has only been outside of the top 3 twice, and they were both 5th places as far as targets to running backs. So I know they're going to target them. That's a thing that Sean Payton loves to do as well. I mean, Sean Payton also in the last 12 years, only twice has he been outside of the top 6 for expected fantasy points for the running back. So they score points in a Sean Payton, Joe Lombardi offense. Now, that doesn't answer your question as to who it is. But I think I would put my money. I think Audric Estime is going to be a great guy to have. I think we're going to find out a lot in June as to how healthy that knee is for Javonte. And I think we'll know at some point there. My gut would say Perine's gone, and I think that they sneak Blake Watson in over Julian McLaughlin just based on his size and his special teams ability. I mean, he's a converted wide receiver, and he's one of those Memphis running backs that came out like Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard. Who's the last guy?
It was Gainwell, wasn't it?
Kenny Gainwell, right? Yeah. Those are all successful Memphis products that were also converted wide receivers, right? So I would kind of bank on that pedigree coming in to be able to replace the same thing Julian McLaughlin did last year. But again, it's going to come down to how camp looks. I think we'll find those answers out in the next month.
I agree with you, Chance. Sean Payton's also a running back by committee guy. He has been forever. So trying to figure out who is tough with that group, but getting a piece of it isn't bad. And you might strike gold with it too. So we'll see how it plays out for sure. Lineberry, any other burning questions for you today?
Those are all my questions for today. I'm sure I'll have a ton more next week.
All right, we're going to jump right into our breakout players. Second year breakout players that we like, that we, depending on draft capital, maybe where you want to pick them up, and some of them are pretty obvious, but I think it's worth kind of talking about. But Justin, go ahead and spin us off with your first one.
So I'm gonna go most obvious guy. Yeah, that's my guy right there. Me and Matt talked about him a little bit last week. I'm like, man, I sent the house to Matt for Bijan, and he just said nope. And then Chance were talking about a trade yesterday about Marvin Harrison. He's like, you send me Bijan, I'll give you Marvin. I'm like, I'm not trading Bijan. So with Bijan, like, it was funny because like I watch all the YouTube stuff like with the Falcons and all that stuff, and they were asking him like, why didn't he get used in Arthur Smith's offense? So his basically rhetoric about why he wasn't being used was Arthur Smith wanted to save him for the playoffs. And I'm like, that is a terrible answer. And I'm like, we needed to make the playoffs. We weren't guaranteed to make anything. So to see how Kyron Williams was used last year is absolutely insane. Like if Zach Robinson comes over and says, hey, we're going to use the same usage. So from weeks 2 to 17, Kyron Williams touched the ball 22 times. That's nuts. Like that's crazy. Like Kyron Williams I think he was the running back too last year. Like he was killing it. Like he got hurt, and like Bijan is a significantly better player than Kyron. Like I don't want to make any bones about that. Like the draft capital, like once in a generation running back, like compared to Saquon, all that stuff. Like there is no reason Bijan should not finish as the RB1 this year. Like he should catch a ton of balls. He should score a ton of touchdowns. Like he should be the focal point. Like I get it's pretty easy, like to be like, yeah, this is a second year breakout. Like he had a decent year. Like he had 1,000 yards. Like Chance always comes to me like, hey, Bijan didn't do that good. It's like, well, he had 1,000 yards. So I think realistically he could have 1,800 total yards and probably 15 touchdowns. I don't think that's crazy to be like a crazy estimate for him. So my first guy is definitely Bijan.
So Lineberry, let me ask you a question real quick then. So Bijan, and we'll focus on redraft, right? We're going to talk about Superflex one quarterback in a minute. So in redraft, where are you taking Bijan? What makes the most sense to you?
I think realistically, there's only 2 running backs I would take in the top 4 with Brees. I guess Christian too, but I just when is Christian gonna
I guess RB1 also.
When is he gonna fall off? Like that's my thing. Like he's been super good. Like big Brees Hall guy, like Christian McCaffrey, Bijan, or you bet on those wide receivers like a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I think those are the top 5 guys.
Yeah, let me rephrase the question. You have the first overall pick. Who are you taking?
Chase.
Okay, you have number 3. Who are you taking?
Bijan.
Okay, so 3 is the magic spot. You feel comfortable taking him?
Yeah, I feel fine with that.
Okay, fair enough. Bijan, there he is, folks. Go get him. Chance, let's jump to you here. Let's jump to you here real quick. Let's get to your guy, and Mr. Tank Dell. Walk us through what you're thinking.
So I just think, right, Tank Dell last year coming out of college, I think we kind of and the conversation around Tank Dell, I think, is important this year because who do you pick in fantasy in that wide receiver core, right? Like you've got Tank Dell, you've got Nico Collins, you got Stephon Diggs. They got 3 absolute dudes. And the conversation both in Dynasty and Redraft is Nico Collins going to repeat? Can he sneak into the top 12 with CJ Stroud playing so well? And I think that Tank coming off of his injury, which happened against the Broncos, I was real bummed about that. But coming off of that injury, did you guys see the podcast between CJ Stroud and Micah Parsons, when they were just talking back and forth, just real
Oh.
football dude stuff. And
Yes,
they're like,
I remember that.
I'm CJ's like, I'm going to build my offense, anyone in the league, and put it against your defense, any player in the league. And he picked Tank Dell for that team, right? Like he put Tank Dell on that team of the best dudes. He could pick anyone currently in the NFL, and he picked his boy Tank. And I just think that, to me, from them getting drafted together, I just think Tank Dell really gives a lot of comfort and a lot of safety to CJ Stroud, and he's going to be there for a while. Nico has, this is a contract year for Nico. I think he's been there. Yeah, this is a contract year. And I know they brought Stephon Diggs in, but I think we all watched football last year and saw Stephon Diggs maybe wasn't who he's been in the last couple of years. And this might give him some more juice, and he'll get and pull targets. But I think Tank Dell's really set to be the best friend of an ascending quarterback. But I'll take that all day.
So you have those 3 wide receivers on that team, and I love Tank Dell.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going really close in ADP,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And Tank Dell is the furthest one down that list. I think he was 30, 40, something like that overall pick.
And I love that value.
That's where I was going with it. I think that's the best value. And he's healthy. There's been reports about he's doing just fine with the incident that happened just recently. He's out running around. And remember, the QB loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He went out and said, "Go get this guy." So Lineberry and I talked about this a little bit, just a little bit on Diggs. I feel like the reason they went out and got Diggs was to just get some depth. If they would have had a little more depth in the playoffs, they may have actually went a little bit deeper. So, but Dell, I love it. I think it's a great pick. Go out and get him. What ADP, if you can get him, are you going to reach for him a little bit, or are you okay just want him to fall to you?
Listen.
Oh, did we lose you?
Yeah, we lost the sound on him.
Oh, he's froze here for a second. Oh, go ahead. I think we'll get you back. Oh,
lost the sound.
Yeah, lost sound.
All right, Matt, you want to talk about your guy real quick?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we'll spin out. We'll spin it while Chance works on that. So, my guy, Mr. Obvious, these first 3, like we said, are pretty obvious. Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid is currently in your ADP redrafts going as tight end 5. And I almost think that's a little bit low. And here's why.
Wow. That's crazy.
Here's why. His ADP 64 at tight end 5.
Okay.
240 targets are now gone. 240. I know you're going to get some with the rookie with Keon Coleman and whatnot, but dang, who else?
Curtis.
Curtis is going to get some of those.
Samuel's going to eat.
Curtis is going to get some of those, but I think with this is going to be the second year. I think he had, I'll tell you in just a second. Dalton Kincaid, he was targeted 91 times last year. He's going to get over 100 targets this year, pretty easy. He had 673 yards, just a couple of touchdowns. And he had pretty good yak yards at 311, which is not too far away from Stephon Diggs, believe it or not. But I think he's going to maybe be in the 1 teens, probably have close to 90 or 100 receptions, and I'm going to give him 8 touchdowns. He's going to be a guy. I like them bringing in Curtis Samuel. What's Chance had alluded to earlier, but go get him. He could easily be the tight end 3. Tight end 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there, depending on how it plays out with the Bills. But he's going to be a target monster. Anything to add to that, fellas?
I mean, you got to remember, little Bronco, right? Little Bronco, Khalil. That man.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, he had. How many targets do you think he had last year?
I'm going to say 67.
He only had 45, and he caught 30. He had 45, and he caught 39 of them.
He just went off at the end of the year, huh? That's
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So it's like he just and he just had a couple of touchdowns, and one he missed in the playoffs, which was on a tough throw. But I do like Khalil. I like Shakir too, our Boise State guy. So good stuff there. Justin, you are up on your second guy. This one's a little deeper.
Very deep. So if you can guess his ADP, Matt, what do you think it would be?
He's probably way down there. Is he in the? I don't know. Is he in the? Is it like 250 or something like that?
246. Nice,
Nice.
Yeah, I
Matt.
knew it was
I
way
see
down there.
you.
I knew it was
This
way down
guy,
there.
dude. I just wanted to like. I wanted to get at least one guy in there that's like maybe he's at like where you're in the spot of your draft, like your redraft league, where you take an IR guy and then you put him on IR, then you draft this guy. So A.T. Perry, like the Saints offense, like I hate the Saints, they're my least favorite team, but like I just don't know what they're gonna do offensive wise. Like they cut Michael Thomas. I think Shaheed. I think he's good. Like don't get me wrong. Like my friend Birch is like a Rashid Shaheem guy. Like that was his guy. Like I went to Weber State. Like this guy's a freak. But like I'm a big sizist when it comes to wide receivers. I've said this multiple times on this
Nice.
podcast. He is 6'5", 205. He's huge. Like they need something to fill in besides Olave. Like they need something else. I think Taysom is almost to that age where he's almost over the hill. Jawan Johnson had a decent year last year. I think he's going to get some targets. Like he is a late round flyer. Like let's see what he is at this offense. Like the Saints are going to be bad. They're going to throw the ball a ton. Like Derek Carr, very average quarterback. I think he did terrible last year. Like let's be honest about it. But like someone's got to catch the ball in this offense. Like if I'm going to take a shot at a late round guy that maybe be a wide receiver 3 on my team, and I can get him to the 15th, the 20th round, like he is going late. Like he's a wide receiver 92. I don't know if
Sheesh.
I don't know if I can name 92 wide receivers. Like that'd be really hard. But like I would take a shot on A.T. Perry. Like he's got a chance. Like again, like he didn't have a ton of catches last year. I think he had like he had 18 targets, but he had 12 receptions, but his average catch length was 20 yards. So he had 246 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like
I was
he
just gonna
did
say the 4 touchdowns. He had 12 catches and 4 of them were touchdowns.
very small sample size,
It's crazy.
tiny. But like if I'm gonna take a shot, I'm gonna take a shot at A.T. Perry.
I do like that a lot. I do like AT. I picked him up in one of my dynasty startups super late. I do like him. There's something to him for sure. And we'll stick with the Saints here. Chance, go ahead and fire off your guy.
My guy,
Dude, Kendra Miller to me is a guy that I just think that, he got hurt last year and we just didn't get to see a ton of him, but he's like the Quentin Johnston comparison as well. Like this guy was fun to watch in college. And if you had to ask me, like, if we say he's injured and let's say he's part of this most recent rookie draft, right? Where would I rank Kendra Miller among rookies that were drafted this year? To me, he's in that, like maybe Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson for dynasty, but right after skill wise, like I think he's there with Marshawn Lloyd. Like I think he'd be my RB3, in this class. And so, I think he has a ton of potential and a ton of upside coming off that injury, being a bigger back. And Alvin Kamara could be on another team next year. Alvin Kamara could be on another team at the trade deadline, right? Like his contract, they're not tied to him. And if you're the Saints and you've seen Kendra Miller, they didn't address the running back position at all in the draft. They picked up one, undrafted free agent. But other than that, I mean, how much does Jamal Williams scare me as a runner? Very little, And so if Kendra Miller shows up and is producing and the Saints get a good offer on a contract that's easy to get out of from, I don't know, the Cowboys at the trade deadline or somebody who needs a running back, I could see Kendra Miller there just as a really solid handcuff with a ton of upside.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there right at the end. If you're gonna draft Kamara, get Miller, and it's very reasonable that Miller's gonna take that backfield. I am not worried about Williams at all. He may be the odd man out and be gone. He bamboozled the Saints for all those touchdowns when he left Detroit. So it's like, wow, okay, he's out. Anybody know what his ADP is currently?
His ADP is, I just had it pulled up.
just like Chance made a really good point that I think a lot of people miss is like the Saints, like if you ever look at their cap situation, it is awful. Like Chance said, like hey, they could trade one. Like Jamali Williams to the Cowboys would be awesome. Like it'd be a great fit. Like Alvin Kamara going somewhere else. Like you could see the Saints just do a fire sale and say we're just gonna go young because we have to get off this cap. So Chance just made a really good point with that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, agreed.
Kendrick Miller's ADP is 132.
Yeah, very reasonable. Go and get him if you're getting Kamara, go get him. And he's going to save your RB thing there for sure. And I kind of like Rattler. I didn't call me
Dude,
crazy.
I love Rattler. I'm
I kind of like him.
Rattler fan. I was
we'll
so
see.
okay with the Broncos drafting Spencer Rattler. Like if that was what they were going to do in the second, I'm on board for that. I think that Saints offense, you got a Kubiak in there, you got Clint Kubiak in there as the OC. I think if you can get rid of Carr, I've watched Carr lose a lot, so I think he's holding them back, but they're young.
Yeah, I want Rattler to sit behind Carr for at least 1 year and then see how it goes. But I do like him. That kid was he's gunslinger, kind of got his own swagger, like an old school Jim McMahon, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just kind of his thing. So we'll see how it goes. Next guy up for me, JSN. So, you're thinking, well, gosh, JSN, he's got a room full of wide receivers. Why is he going to break out? So understand his ADP is 88 right now. And I'm going to give you one name for sure of why I think he's going to break out this year. Ryan Gibbs. He was the OC at University of Washington. So passing yards, what he averaged a couple of years, 370 and 344 per game in his offensive schemes. So over 300 yards passing. His scores, 36 a game and 40 a game. Right? So my goodness, they're going to throw the ball. And if I remember reading it right, Gibbs was super excited to be working with this wide receiver core. Now there's some questions around the QB. I get that, but those are both they're decent QBs, not great QBs, but I think they'll be able to spread the ball around and get JSN his looks. So understand he had 93 targets. I almost was blown away by this. He had 93 targets, 6 catches. He had 4 touchdowns. His yak yards were 366.
Did you say 6?
366 yak yards.
How many catches did he have?
63.
Oh, 63. Sorry, you cut
63.
out.
Oh, sorry. No, it's okay.
Six catches.
He's killing it. Yeah, no. So, I mean, he almost had 100 targets. Lockett had 122 and Metcalf 119. The yak yard surprised me. Tyler Lockett's not a yak guy. We know that. He was at 209. But how many yak yards do you think DK Metcalf had?
450.
I wouldn't even say that many. I would say, he's a catch in the end zone guy. He'd break away a few. I'd say, 275, 300.
So he had 367, which was 1 yard more than JSN.
He probably had way more targets and way more catches, I guess.
Yes, yeah. So ironically, DK had 119 targets and only 66 receptions. Only 3 more receptions than JSN. I'm telling you, JSN's going to get the ball this year. It's on its way. Tyler Lockett's on his way out. I'm getting my ball into the playmaker's hands. I'm looking at this going, I want JSN. For that value at 88 ADP, yep, all day. He might not be the wide receiver 1, but he is a very, very good wide receiver 2, in my opinion. So, and the floor is a wide receiver 3. Okay. I don't want him at a wide receiver 3, but I think he's going to do really, really well. I don't know on the touchdown side. I think Chance is right. I think, DK is probably that guy most of the time. But if he's able to get a few more in there, maybe he can get to 8 touchdowns. That's probably lofty, but JSN's my guy for sure. And in that offense, I think it's going to be awesome. All right, let's keep on cruising. Hey, if you like what we're broadcasting here, leave us a comment. Let us know. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We just like talking ball. So hit us up with some questions.
Marvin
Justin,
Mims.
you were up. Yep, here we go.
Chance wanted this breakdown for him. So I've been a Marvin Mims guy for 2 years. When he was at Oklahoma, they always talk about being Denzel Mims' little brother, and Denzel Mims had not a very good career with the Jets. They're just polar opposites. So Marvin Mims was a freak. He reminded me so much of Marquise Brown coming out, just a speedster. I feel like he got on got off on the wrong foot with Sean Payton and got put in the doghouse. Like he just didn't get a lot of playing time, and I just didn't understand because it felt like he was the most talented guy in the room. So he only had 33 targets last year. Again, as Chance could attest, their quarterback was not good.
No.
And he only had 22 receptions. But again, his average length of target or catch was 17 yards. He only had one touchdown, but I feel like with this wide receiver room, it's just not good. Like I think Cortland Sutton he was really good 4 years ago. Like he almost reminds me of like Allen Robinson. Like Allen Robinson had that crazy one good year and then like hasn't done anything since. And like Cortland Sutton has come back from knee injury. Yes, Chance, I know. Like
Yeah, okay. Cortland Sutton only had one good season. Okay.
Again, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, they're both coming off big injuries. Troy Franklin, again, I was never a fan of him. Like, I just don't think he is a good wide receiver. I think Marvin Mims has a chance to really go with Bo Nix and play well, like do a lot of underneath stuff, and then like hit those play actions and go deep. Like he can be Chris Olave to what Sean Payton was. Like maybe that's what Sean Payton's. Like he wanted him to be more adept to that offense, to play X, the like Y, H, to play a bunch of different roles, and maybe it took him a bunch of time to learn that offense. Like to second year of the offense, they did sign Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds again is the same age as Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton. They're all 20, 29, 28, 30. So like that cliff has got to fall off, and I feel like they can feature him pretty easily, like where they can give Bo Nix a lot of easy throws with Marvin Mims. So.
Chance, I'm going to let you respond to that.
No, and listen, I like Marvin Mims a lot. I think that it's going to be really hard to figure out in this offense. What are we going to do as far as, is it going to be Troy Franklin? Is he going to get a shot? They drafted a guy out of Utah, last name Vele, who is like a Tim Patrick replacement. And if you watch any Utah games, the dude's a dog, and so they've got a really loaded wide receiver core. I just think it's funny. I think Cortland Sutton's a really good receiver. I mean, he had double-digit touchdowns last year. People forget that even with the QB play that was Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton produced fantasy points, and he was great in the end zone. I think Marvin Mims has a really good spot on the team as like their slot possession guy and could work really well there. But I also think you're going to see him featured a lot in their special teams plan. And so we'll see, and Sean Payton loves his special teams, right? Sean Payton loves that. So I think he knows Mims brings value in both of those spots, but I think for sure he's going to be a big part. I just want to see how Troy Franklin fits into that with Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. Just glad we don't have Judy anymore.
For sure. And just a side note, so Sutton's had nearly 90 targets every year other than the 2020 season got hurt. So, and you're right,
only one good year.
Yeah,
he's only had 1 year over 1,000 yards. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and some of that's the quarterback play, though. I think. So it's kind of rough all the way through. They haven't had anybody. It kind of makes me wonder. So I think you would have to say, at least in my mind, we have Sutton in there as a leader with all these young wide receivers, or do you try to trade him to and get something out of him, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we don't know what we don't know on this, but Lineberry, where are you taking Mims at then with his ADP?
Like, what is his ADP right now? Let's see.
I'd have to pull it up.
I got 152.
Yeah, somewhere in there. That sounds about right.
That's around 16. I'm gonna take a shot at him just because I feel like he's got a chance to be. I'd probably take him like a round earlier, maybe 2 rounds earlier, just because I feel like I might be able to get a wide receiver 1, and that late of a round. Like with like a lot of these wide receiver groups, like you don't know who the 1 is. Like the Broncos, you don't know. Like I just
Not yet.
Chargers, you don't know. Panthers, you don't know. Like if I'm gonna believe in a guy to be the 1, I'm gonna take my shot. Like Matt says all the time, like take your guy. If he's your guy, take your guy. Like I fully believe Marvin Mims to be that 1.
Yep. Grab them if they're available and get them at the right price. On to our next guy, Chance. This is your guy. I actually agree with this one. Give us your thoughts on Mr. Chase Brown.
Yeah, I think that I think Chase Brown was an absolute dog coming out of college, right? Like he was a really good running back. His RAS score is He's got an awesome RAS score, super high. I think it's like 9.7 on his RAS score. But he came out and Joe Mixon was awesome for the Bengals last year. But one of the things with him moving on, they brought in Zach Moss, and I just don't believe that the Zach Moss – I'm not a Zach Moss truther, right? I think Zach Moss was super effective last year, great for fantasy because he was in – I mean, for the same reasons. And I don't want to diminish these guys' skill, but Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor were both really successful in the Colts system with the Colts O-line, right? Like it's really easy to run in that system. And so I think that him coming over to Cincinnati, I think he has more to prove than what we just saw from last year. And so with that, I think Chase Brown, again, kind of in that Kendre Miller fold of like, I think there's a chance that he's the younger guy that this organization drafted. And I don't know how much of that Zach Moss contract is funny money or real money or, I would love to get Chase Brown on, again, he's kind of that handcuff idea, but I could see him having a real Jalen Warren style role in that offense as the guy, maybe not the goal line guy or the first down back, but definitely a second and third down back that I think is really explosive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he is going at the 117, and ironically, Zach is going at 102. So they're pretty close. So if you can spin them. Dynasty, I'm going for the younger. Redraft, if I can somehow get them together. I agree, but I think Chase Brown's got the higher upside. Even though Zach Moss has kind of proved us wrong in the past. I think we've done that every year with Zach Moss. Like, I don't know, and he just seemed to produce. So, but as a second-year player that you can take a flyer on kind of late, I like Chase Brown too.
The Zach Moss contract is not as big as I thought it was. Like his base, like it's 2 years, $8 million. Like, but his base salary is $1 million, is 1.1, and then his second year is 3.07. Like it's not crazy. Like they could realistically get off him like next year. Like they're not paying him anything. So like when people made a big deal about this signing, like as Chance alluded, like they took Chase Brown. Like they invested in like this regime did. So. I mean, I can see them taking a shot. Just let him go with it.
Yeah, go get Chase Brown in the little bit later rounds. It could pay off big for you. Our last second year, possible breakouts. We believe they're going to break out. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you Jaden Reed and Dante Wicks here from.
I love this.
From the pack.
Love this.
So they spread it around so much, and I'm going to kind of split it out two different ways here. So Reed, his ADP currently is 76. He's wide receiver 36. I think he's going to do pretty well this year. Now, this all hinges on Watson, of course. Watson hasn't been very good at all. He's been injured. Rumors out there, they've got it kind of figured out. His hamstrings are better. I don't know about that.
Is that a real thing, Matt? Do you believe that report?
Are you talking the report where one leg is 20% smaller than the other?
Smaller than the other, yeah.
Why?
So I'm like
20% smaller.
Nobody
noticed.
Yeah, it's like it'll be fine, So I don't know. I mean, I know they like Christian Watson, but I was high on Christian Watson as anybody when he came out, but now I'm kind of like, and I'm almost to the point I don't even know if they need him when they got two receivers like this.
Yeah.
So I know there's a height difference, but Reed had 94 targets last year, 64 receptions for 793 yards. He had 8 TDs. Romeo Doubs was in that same range. Mind you that Wicks played 15 games, had 58 targets for 93 and 4 TDs. At their ADPs, especially Wicks, the eye test for me, I love Wicks. Dude, he makes some freaky catches. He's athletic as get out. I think he's like 6 foot, maybe 6'1", 205 or something like that. And he can go. He had 211 yak yards, right? Only on 58 catches. I like him a lot. Dobbs, I'm not really worried about. He's more of a zone guy, but so both. If you can get both of these receivers, man, do it. Get them because I think they're going to both eat for sure.
Wicks was the one that was killing Dallas, correct?
Yeah,
just
crushed Dallas.
Yeah, and like I said, Wicks's ADP is 182. Dude, that's a late flyer. Go get him. He's going to be good.
I think that, again, the Christian Watson question, if Christian Watson continues to struggle with his injuries, I don't know who the wide receiver one is there. I don't know and I loved Reed as a Michigan State product in college, but Wicks out of Virginia was still super solid. And I think he showed it on the field. I couldn't tell you right now who was the better draft pick. I think Jaden Reed is who is rising in ADP. He's
sure.
the popular pick right now. And so if I'm going to spend that ADP on a guy who could be the backup, who could be the wide receiver 2 behind Christian Watson with all the potential to be wide receiver 1, I would use the ADP of Wicks to break that tie. But I still love Jaden Reed, man. I loved him in college.
If he falls, you got to get him for sure.
Mhm.
This offense reminds me a little bit of Houston. You're not sure who's going to be it, and it might not be anybody. It might be a week-to-week thing. You know, 1 week it's Wicks, 1 week it's Dobb, 1 week it's Reed, 1 week it's the tight end. Who knows? But if you get him for value, go get him. But I right now I think both these guys are value. If Reed goes much higher, I kind of like too high. But I do like both of them as a second-year breakout. The one thing
I got
Wicks.
a question for you.
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick. Would you rather have Watson or Jameson Williams?
Oh, there we go.
As it stands right now, I want Williams. I want JMO. I might be wrong. I might have big swing and miss, but he's the more explosive player if he gets his mind right. So we'll see.
Super similar. Like they just haven't been on the field.
Yep, agreed. The one thing I was going to say, the one thing about Wicks is he did fumble 3 times last year, so he's got to figure that out. But but for sure we'll get there. But well, shoot, yeah. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Again, leave a like, ask us questions, hit the subscribe button, and man, we just love talking ball. We're going to get into our next segment here. Let me get it pulled up, and we're going to do a little bit of drafting. We're going to do a 1 QB dynasty startup. We're going to do this for 9 rounds. Let me get things pulled up here.
Are we doing the super flex?
Yep.
Right.
Well, Superflex has got two QBs, I guess, right? That's most.
Yeah.
So let's do the one.
Yeah.
Well, the one. What did I mark on there? I'm trying to remember.
I thought we were doing super flex.
Hold on. Let me go. Let me get into the draft settings again.
It's right on Sleeper.
It says 1 QB.
It is okay.
No, it's super. It's just
let me change it.
I get you.
Yeah, I put the banner on the banner though. Let me go Dynasty PPR here. We'll get into it. Nothing like making a midstream adjustment.
There's so many like different. So like when you go into these drafts, like my biggest thing, like be water, like that's like adjust to those things. But like I'm a big proponent, and I'm kind of different with Matt on this. Like this is a terrible thing to say, but like dynasty leagues, like if you get into like the average dynasty league, they don't last that long. They only last for 3 years usually. So like. Don't always put in your back pocket like I gotta draft young guys because I'm gonna build a huge juggernaut team. Like go after those guys. Like go after the really good players and like see what happens. Like I that's what I am. Like just take the best player. Like if it's Chris McCaffrey and he's 28, like just take him. Like if he's fallen, like I know what I said about Chris McCaffrey earlier was kind of crazy.
Yeah, you're a hater, dude. Don't talk about how you draft him. You would not do that.
It's not on me, but like take those older receivers, like take AJ Brown if he's an older like geriatric receiver, like take Patrick Mahomes, like they'll be fine. Like they're gonna play for a long time. So like take wide receivers. Like wide receivers are important. Like it's okay to take a wide receiver in the first round. Like if it's one of those guys, take them. Like it doesn't have to be a quarterback. Like you can go against the grain.
Yeah, I'd add that too. Just understand if you're new to Dynasty or new to your leagues and whatnot, understand the league rules, right? Is it a 2 receiver league? Is it a 3 receiver league? Is it a 2 tight end? Is it a tight end premium? Is it a super flex, which Chance was kind of alluding to? Understand what your league is because that absolutely affects your draft. So all right, I am first on the clock and right out of the gate. So again, this is Dynasty. Dynasty. Yeah, it's like oh. I went last time crazy, and I'm gonna do something a little different, and I loved it too. So I'm gonna go Bijan. I am gonna go.
You're going Bijan?
I'm gonna go Bijan right out of the gate.
Oh my gosh! Us in a startup.
Youth. Love. I tend to go running backs right out of the gate in these 1 quarterback dynasty. Obviously, if it's super flex, we're hitting quarterbacks. But as we kind of go from here, and Chance, before you pick here, just let's take a look at the draft board, just kind of what's been picked up here. Anything you guys see that you guys wanted to talk about that's a little bit odd for you?
Your pick.
Yeah, your pick.
Good. That's why I wanted it good. That's why I did it.
Think, and I'm a huge fan. Like, there are not that many dudes that are, as far as running back goes. But also, like, is there a world where Bijan Robinson's shelf life is 3 more years? For sure. Like, he could be done as a producer in 3 years, where a Jamar Chase or an Amon Ra, like receivers just have longer shelf life to me in dynasty. So I'm super okay with the youth and the positional value, but for the 101 in a startup, to me, it's between 3 or 4 wide receivers because I believe in their shelf life over the shelf life of a running back.
Lineberry, you want to add?
Yeah, I'm a big wide receiver guy. I'm gonna take the best wide receivers and just stack my team. Like, there's a lot of good quarterbacks. Like, ideally, there's probably 20 to 25 quarterbacks that should get drafted. Like, I'll take Jared Goff and be happy. Like, I'm gonna bet on Trevor Lawrence and be happy. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need a crazy good stud. I want studs at wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So here's why that I chose it. And so if Bijan's that guy and ends up being the RB1 for the next 3 years, the wide receiver pool is so deep in the NFL that you can navigate through that. So I'm like, okay, let me take this guy. If I believe this, then I'll circle back around and get some wide receivers that'll fill that gap. That was my thought. That's my thoughts around that. But let me finish close with this. You guys are not wrong because I normally would go wide receiver, but I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. So, all right, Chance, it's on you, my friend.
All right, I got her.
Oh, did you get it in?
Oh, so I got it in, right? Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, good, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, these are tough. It's always nice to have it kind of back to back like this with a pick, because I think you can kind of get a couple of good guys out of the way. We'll get that running back.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that. Wow.
Yeah, I think those are all good. I actually like Puka over Hill for myself, but if you're in that win now mode, Hill's okay.
Yeah.
For Dynasty. I think I would have had Puka in that first round somewhere myself, but I think it's gonna be a baller.
I think it's hard. I looked at that between Garrett Wilson and Puka Nacua, and I think that for me that tiebreaker was draft capital, right? Like, sure. I think it's super cool when you have a really productive wide receiver, but also, without that draft capital, you never know how long they're going to stick around. He has to produce for the team to be committed to him. Garrett Wilson might not produce as much, and the team will stay committed to him.
Your thoughts on Taylor, just making a left-hand turn here. So I know we got Lineberry. If we go over a minute, go ahead and make your selection. But so Taylor with AR5 back there, help hurt. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's one of those situations where who's the backup to Jonathan Taylor right now? Yeah, exactly. Right. Like
Evan Hole.
Yeah.
Evan
Hole. Like, I think that AR-15 back there, or Anthony Richardson, he said he doesn't want to go by AR-15 anymore. But, I think he's a great rusher, and I think he's going to do really well. And he could vulture some touchdowns. But I also don't see any actual running back competition there. So when it goes to a running back, I know it's going to go to Jonathan Taylor. And I think I'm in the same boat you. I love getting an early running back. And I think of the guys that are left, how many of them you don't know how split the backfield is.
Agreed. And our first quarterback comes off the board. So why Josh Allen over Patty Mahomes?
So again, stay water, Josh Allen, I am a homer. He is the reason I won my championship last year. He just scores touchdowns. I'm all about it. He runs stuff in. He's gonna throw freaking 35 touchdowns. I'm all about it. So I'm gonna take a difference maker, and I think I'll like what comes back around. So that's kind of my thinking. Do I think Josh Allen's gonna make it back around? Not really. I'm not a big Malik Neighbor guy. or Jalen Waddle, Devontae Chase. Yeah, Chance likes that comment because we were talking about trade earlier. So I think I like the wide receivers that come around, and maybe I'll just go double quarterback and be done with quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think anything else. The Ayuk at the 210 is interesting. I think it's a bit high for me. I think there's some other youth players that I would rather have. But
If I was to bet on one person for Matt to take right now, it'd be Neighbors or freaking CJ Stroud. That would be my guess.
Oh,
yeah,
I would love, one I would hate. So
I'm going Stroud just because of that offense is I like him. He might have a sophomore slump. We'll see. I traded for him in a startup. I'm hopeful. Neighbors worries me. He's going to get peppered full of targets. I get that. I just wonder if he's going to get frustrated later until they get a quarterback. But
Exactly. This is a tough pick. Like this,
Yeah.
not that this is a dead zone, but it's like, man, who do I take here? Like Devontae Chase scares the crap out of me.
Oh.
Like, I don't know why he is so high. I am so confused.
yeah, he's terrifying.
he bulked up too, which is interesting. I wonder how that will impact him. I think he'll be fine, but he looks. Have you seen the pictures of him? He's a little thicker.
Looks big. Yeah, he
He looks big.
Is he?
Yeah, he's bulked up a little bit. But they also picked up Wright, which that makes it a kind of a three-headed monster back there. So.
Yeah, you got Jeff Wilson sitting on the outside there. Could end up in Dallas for all we know.
Yeah, hopefully somebody
Ah,
take your guy.
I kind of want to, but
Take Shane's guy. I know that's his guy. He loves Devonta Smith.
yeah, actually Devontae Smith could have a huge. And all right, I'm gonna kind of go a homer pick here.
Oh, Roma Duse.
I do like him a lot.
Man,
I like him a lot. I know you non-Bears guys, but he could be the guy there.
I like it. I don't hate it for sure.
So I just know Allen's going to be out by midseason, and so Rome's going to get his opportunities for sure. So moving in, Neighbors that 3-2 Waddle Smith. I don't see anything. Hurts is a good pick. Probably what Lamberry would have loved to had at the 3-6. But anything there you guys see?
No, it's interesting, that little difference, right? Redraft to dynasty, where you got guys who are picking up, Rome's not the wide receiver one. Malik is the wide receiver one, but we don't trust his quarterback. Waddle's not the wide receiver one. Devontae Smith, arguably not the wide receiver one. So just that little interest in where these guys going this early when, they might not produce wide receiver one numbers for that team. And it's something I always have to remind myself too in Dynasty. I'm playing for a trophy. I'm not, no point playing for a trophy in 2 years from now. You know what I mean? Like,
Correct.
So it goes back to drafting guys that are going to score for you now as well.
Nope, I absolutely agree. There it is. Depending on where you're at in the draft, what you're trying to do for sure. So Lamberry, I'll let you go ahead and pick, but I do want to talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit, and with Kellen Moore going over as OC. What are your guys' thoughts? We're going to see better passing. We're going to see more chances for him to throw the ball a little bit more. We'll certainly see the tush push. I don't think that goes away. And then you have Barkley back there. So what is your thoughts around Jalen Hurts?
I think he's gonna throw the ball inside. With my pick, I just picked DJ Moore because I love DJ Moore. He's been really good for me.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna throw the ball a ton, so I think it just ups the value of AJ and Devontae Smith. I don't think they're going to run the ball as much, and I think they're going to trust Saquon a lot more to run the ball than Jalen Hurts. Just my observations. So,
yeah, Chance.
I wanted to go quarterback here, but I think I'm gonna wait. I'm comfortable with the quarterbacks. I would assume one is gonna make it back to me the next two, so I'm gonna draft a position I'm gonna draft tight end here.
Wow!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
wow!
That's a great pick. He could be the number. He could be the number one tight end this year. For sure.
It's a position with high scarcity, man. Get a young guy tied to a young franchise quarterback who's going to be there for a while. I'll take that.
Yeah, I definitely like that pick. I thought maybe he'd fall later in the fourth, but that's a really good pick. Spinning back around to no, you're good. Well, everything looks good here. I do want to touch base a little bit on Lamar Jackson. So he went from 2 225, something like that, 230. Now he's down to like 205 receiver weight. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's what he was in college when he won himself a Heisman. You know, like I think that he probably, you know, I think he's probably going to be really successful with that. I don't think that extra 10, 15 pounds, honestly, like is going to change that drastically how he fits into the NFL. I mean, like Justin's put on 15 pounds and wears a large size shirt now and you can't even tell, you know? So, I mean, like what, sorry, Justin, didn't mean for you to catch that straight. But, you know, like I think
a
that
compliment more than anything.
the 15 pounds that Lamar Jackson's going to drop, I don't think it's going to be enough for him to take massive, you know, it's not like a massive injury risk jumps up because of it, in my mind.
I think there are some folks that worry about it a little bit because he's kind of that running quarterback.
Mhm.
But I think it tells me a little bit about Henry.
Mhm.
Right? It's like maybe he won't run as much as we thought he would. They're going to give Henry the ball and not necessarily in a handoff fashion. Maybe they're going to throw it to Henry a little bit and preserve him a little bit. But I think that's what that tells me. But I don't know. We're going to find out for sure.
The guy that I'm taking is like, I've been trying to trade for him in all my leagues and just have not been successful. Like, I am full on like this guy's gonna be good. Like I just fully believe in him. There's a few guys on the board that I like at this position, but I'm gonna take the upside with this guy, and it's Anthony Richardson.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. He's one of those guys that I think it's like a Heisman or bust. Not Heisman, but MVP or bust type of guy. That's what it feels like. Either he's going to win it or he's going to get injured. That's in my mind. It feels like he could change the game.
He could be sustainable Cam Newton, because Cam Newton kept losing his OC because he had a defensive-minded coach. Like Steichen's going to stay there, so like he could just have 10 years of like really good play. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. Flowers was on my list potential of second-year breakouts. I just don't really like Baltimore's. They're not necessarily a passing team, although he led the team in targets. But I want him to be so bad to be that guy. I'm just not sure if he is going to be just with that offensive setup with Harbaugh. So
for sure, I see that.
I'm going to go Kincaid because I already mentioned Kincaid. I think he's gonna be a top 3 tight end in my opinion. And I might as well go with the youth. I like the Tank Dell stack with Stroud, and we'll kind of go from there.
Love it. You gotta love it. Love to see it.
Man, all these tight ends are flying off the board.
They are.
It's a position of need, man. It's scarcity.
So I look at this team 5 here with Gibbs, London, Hurts, Higgins, and Kelsey. I'm not. So if you're going to take Kelsey, you got to be a win now team, right? In Dynasty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably got 1-2 years and he may have the Swift curse. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm just curious how his attention is so much not football right now. When you just kind of read stuff, he's just going around Europe and whatever. I just am kind of staying away from
side quests. He's just a side quest machine right now.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't really want anything to do with him. But anyway.
So I'm going to take the tight end 1 right now.
Oh my gosh.
I kind of figured you were going to say that.
Tight end 1, baby.
Tight end 1, baby.
Well, speaking after your glorious Pitts pick, what are your guys' thoughts on Xavier Worthy here? What he is a interesting candidate. We already know what's going on with Rashee Rice. So don't even need to touch on that. But Worthy, they made some moves to get him. What are they going to do with him?
I think he's got a chance. Like, I went so back and forth because me and Chance played a league together, and I went so back and forth on the 104, and I'm just like, I'm just going to take a shot on a guy that I think could be Tyreek. Do I think he's going to be that? I don't know, dude. Tyreek is a really good football player. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's been really good for a long time. Like, when I went back and watched Worthy's film, it was like, is he just a one-trick pony? Like, I think Brian Thomas is, but Worthy runs really good routes, and I think Shane said it last week where it's like, man, he's got Patrick Mahomes. Like, we got to figure this out. Like, I feel like they've tried a bunch of different wide receivers with like Sky Moore and like Justin Ross, and like trying to make it happen. But man, Xavier Worthy, man, he was balling out as a freshman against Alabama, like against a bunch of different teams. So I think he's going to be good. I think he can be the wide receiver one with Rice not knowing what he's going to do. Marquise Brown on a 1-year deal. So
Yeah, part of me thinks Xavier Worthy will be in that kickoff with the new kickoff rules where he just gets a running start, and next thing you know, they're starting at the 50-yard line or the other 40.
Yeah.
And now Patrick Mahomes gets to do whatever he wants. I kind of feel that's why they got him, but he certainly could be the guy. I like Hollywood a little bit better right now, but Worthy could be the dude.
Chance is really hard thinking this pick right now.
No,
Yeah, he's got 13 seconds before it kicks it though.
Yeah. I'm gonna draft my guy real quick, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on. Yeah.
Ooh!
I like
I'll go
that pick a lot.
I'll go Brooks. I just think I got a running back established in Jonathan Taylor, and then I want that youth. And then I was really hoping both of the wide receivers that I honestly wanted went right after my pick. And so now I'm struggling with where to go wide receiver after that.
Interesting.
I think I know what I'm going to go. And
I think I know who you're going to go with. I just want to see
this is a silly pick for me when I think about this being a dynasty draft, but I also want to win. Right. So I'm going to go Mike Evans. There.
Oh, wow. I love it. 1,000 yards.
1,000 yards, man. Consistent.
That's easy. Yeah, Mr. Consistent for sure.
So anyway, hey, just to circle back, my only thoughts on that Xavier Worthy comment is, like, I think he's a really good wide receiver. I think he runs really good routes, but I also am going to trust the Chiefs to always draft bad receivers. Like they have not ever hit on a receiver, and I know Patrick Mahomes makes things work, but fool me once with Miko Harmon, fool me with Justin Ross, fool me with Sky Moore. And I think Xavier Worthy is a better receiver than those guys. And Rashee Rice, turned out on the field, but he has to get his off-field stuff figured out. If I'm choosing between Xavier Worthy and another young wide receiver, I have been fooled too many times by the Chiefs to pick him over most of those guys. Now, there's always a point that I would pick him, but I don't know. You got to prove it to me if you're Kansas City first. And I know it only takes one to do that.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like the Chiefs, Andy Reid, is trying to replicate Jackson when he was in Philly?
Yeah.
He keeps chasing that player
again.
Wants
a Deshaun Jackson for sure.
I got to find another Deshaun Jackson. And I was like, you haven't found him yet. No. So
one of one.
Yep.
I'm gonna get a piece of that Broncos backfield right here.
Ooh. See, I know you're in on him. I know you're big in on Javonte Williams, man.
I think he's going to be good. He was so good his rookie year. And I'm just like, go back to that.
I know. Listen, as hard as you've been trying to get him from me in Dynasty, I'm the same boat. I will ride that boat into victory, or I will sink on it. I'm here for that.
The Alvin Kamara pick is a little weird. Like, he can't last this long. Like,
no,
he's got to be over the hill.
But I also think that right here in this draft, we have officially reached running back dead zone, right? Like running backs who are probable starters with guys backing them up that are younger, but all the younger guys that you would take, you don't know if they're going to start, right? You don't know if can they feasibly be an RB2 on your team. And this RB dead zone is just, it's shooting ducks in the dark, like you just have no clue.
Yeah, I would. So I'm going to go Herbert here just to fill out my quarterback setup here. Because he's just, he's too good just to be that down on him. I actually wanted Love there, but he was picked earlier. And Chance is right. So I'm just the only running back I kind of like, and it's as much as everybody's hyped on him, is probably Trey Benson here.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. I think so. I believe he's going to be that guy. And Justin and I talked about it in a previous show. This running back group, these rookie running back class, with the exception of maybe Brooks, is down, right? It's not an elite running back group. Next year, is a little different. So in Dynasty, when you're thinking of that, you're like, well, maybe let me just kind of get what I can get. Maybe I take a Najee Harris here. Maybe I take an Aaron Jones, or maybe even a Zamir White. And then next year, I'm trying to get one of those elite running backs.
Who are you going with here, Matt?
I think I got a hustle here.
That's be interesting. Gosh, man, Cooper Kupp is still here. Frick.
Yeah, and I thought about that just
to
get there.
How old is he? 30? Yeah, it's tough. Cooper Kupp is so good.
You know, I think I'm just going to partner Lad here. It's probably a little bit of a stretch here, but
I like that though. I like that in a dynasty.
It.
That's a solid stack.
Yep.
This is stuff right here.
You know, Lineberry, as we're talking, Coleman goes off with the 7-4, and we talked about, again, Shane Williams Road was on the show with us last time, the ex-Boise State standout, and he was just absolutely all over Coleman. He thought Coleman could be the guy there, and Allen's just going to find a way, him getting the ball, jump ball stuff. Chance, I'm curious your thoughts on Coleman. What your thoughts are?
Dude, I loved, so my one of my college teams I love is I'm a huge fan of Michigan State. So I loved watching Keon Coleman when he played for Michigan State, when he was at Sparty. And so when he transferred, I was super bummed. And I was so pumped about him coming into the season, but it just made it really tough when like some of his draft stock fell and there were questions about his, some of his combine numbers, but I think Coleman's going to be an absolute beast on the side. Like, I think he is better Gabe Davis. I just think he's better Gabe Davis. Yeah. And so that's what they wanted to get from Gabe Davis, but he wasn't that. I think Coleman's going to be an upgrade there.
Yep. He was Gabe Davis too inconsistent. Good player, just too inconsistent. So, well,
I know there's a fear there about Coleman also being inconsistent based on his Florida State tape, but I watched him a lot at Michigan State, and I thought he was a truth, man.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Lineberry, you're perfect. McLaurin is a good pick.
I really like his pairing with Terry McLaurin. I think it'll be good. Like, yep. He's been a good wide receiver again. Like, he just hasn't had anybody throwing the ball. So I think he'll have at least two more years. He's a good wide receiver 3 for me. I think he'll start most weeks.
Chance, you are on the clock here, kind of a turn picks, and again, we're only going to go through 9 rounds. No sense of going through the whole thing, but in this setup, I'm a little surprised Benson went behind Najee. I would have gone Benson a little bit earlier, although Najee's on a make or break year too.
That backfield is rough. Like, again, with the Arthur Smith experience, like, I don't know who's going to lead that backfield. Like, they're gonna run 3 different guys with Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, and Cordell Patterson, because Arthur Smith loves Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson, yeah.
Johnny Smith's gonna get some runs too, because that's what we like to do. We like to give to give touches to our tight end to run the ball. So
in my most recent, go ahead, Jim.
I don't know. I just again looking through these names, I actually am gonna pick a name for running back that again is gross. When I think about it, it's gross, but I also think that he's in a position to really score some fantasy points this year. And
love it.
Zamir White.
Pick.
I just think, again, he has the opportunity to show he was a good back for Georgia. Like he was right in there with Todd Gurley and a bunch of those other, DeAndre Swift, a bunch of those other really good, really productive Georgia running backs. And then he sat behind Josh Jacobs. And I think that he has a ton of tread on his tires. And he's going to score a ton of points this year. I'm not afraid of Alexander Madison, sadly.
Who are you gonna go with next, Chance?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go my second quarterback here.
That's who I thought. That's who I wanted you to pick was Kyler with that stack. That's exactly
that's
what I wanted to go. So I don't have a second running back, and
you still don't have a second running back?
No, I have both quarterbacks on my tight end. So I think this guy is going to be good. I don't think the presumed starter is good, and that's Tony Pollard. I don't think Tony Pollard is good. I think Tajee Spears is going to be good, and I think that O-line is going to be substantially better. And, I'm going to take a shot. Next year's draft class will be okay. I'll run with these running backs, see what happens, use the waiver wire a lot. So I'm going to go Tajee.
That's a good pick. Do like him. Obviously, the pick behind it, Chubb. That's just a computer pick. He's not going to get picked that high. I do want to back up just a little bit here and talk about Jaden Daniels. I love what I'm seeing out of OTAs out of him. That guy I'm very intrigued with the OC there and what they're doing. It could be impressive or not, but I'm really leaning it's headed the right direction.
So just because you touched on that, because I was between Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray for my pick, right? Like I was right between those two, and I just didn't feel comfortable having an oft injured Joe Burrow as my starting QB, and then picking up Jaden Daniels as a guy who I just watched the hits he took in college from college players, and it just makes me a little nervous, right? Like it's just if I'm choosing between Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels, I think he has all the upside in the world, and I want so desperately to be bought in on Jaden Daniels. He just makes me nervous because
I agree. I 100% agree. I'm going to over here. I agree. I agree. He's going to have to learn. He can't take those hits in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know who picked up Robinson, but I think Robinson's going to be a sneaky pick this year.
Brian Robinson?
He has not been picked up.
Hasn't.
No, he's not been picked.
Yeah.
He
because Jaden Daniels is going to run, and it's going to free up stuff for him. So I really think he's a sneaky later pick that could net you some fantasy value.
I'm gonna go Mr. Old Reliable here. Just betting that he's got one more year in him. And that's James Conner.
Nice. I like that pick.
Yeah.
I like that pick.
He'll probably have 1,000 yards, and then it'll be done. And that's fine with me. Last pick for us, Chance.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna go upside. I think there's only one more legitimate wide receiver one left. Here, just for the upside of it, I think I'm gonna go Christian Watson.
Yeah, for the upsides for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. We just don't know what's going to happen. Man, I hope he's healthy because I think he could be good. But
he's a dog, man.
Well, that is our mock draft of the 1 QB startup dynasty. Man, I think the best way to describe this, and anytime you're drafting, Justin said it the best, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. You always have a plan in your head. You're like, this is what I'm going to draft. Then somebody takes a kicker and you're like, wait a minute, what? And so just be nimble, be flexible. Don't always go off ADP, right? Sometimes those are not reliable. You got to understand what you're doing. And that's why you're here watching us and describing these players that we like with upside. Anything to add to that, Justin, then I'll get the chance and then we'll probably bug out of here.
I mean, the one thing that I've always done when I've gone into drafts, like whether it's computer or live drafts, like I've always had like my own ADP list. Like you can make it off a bunch of websites. Like make your own list. Like Matt said, like don't do everybody's ADP. Like put stars by guys that you love in the late rounds. Like your guys. Like have something in front of you that is your list and not something off the computer, because sometimes that can make you panic a little bit.
Chance, anything to add?
Yeah, I just think that when you go into drafts, just remember that, like, you're trying to build a team that consistently scores points with upside, right? Consistency and upside is how you win in fantasy football. And so you got to remember that sometimes, you got to keep in mind that it's okay to have tiers of players where they're going to score a relatively similar number of points, right? And statting guys out or looking at who's going to be within the same tier, I think is really important. Like you can get a guy who's going to score a very similar number of points around later. Then you can take some of those upside guys, some of those boom bust guys that, could blow up for you.
Absolutely. And we are in dynasty season. So I do want to, recognize that redraft is right around the corner. It's coming. Strength of schedules come out. I don't put a whole lot of weight in strength of schedule. It's kind of down the list a little bit because of the way they do it. And a lot of these defenses are going to change or get better or get worse compared to what they were last year. So, but ADP is coming with redraft, and stay tuned with us. And we will be back next week with more 208 fantasy football content for you guys. Any last words as we sign off, Justin?
Nope. Enjoy the summer. I'm super excited not to teach this summer and just really enjoy it. So
enjoy it. Chance.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks so much for letting me come on, guys. I've been really excited to join you guys, and I had a great first time with you. Justin, enjoy your summer off. I'm just gearing up farming, so if you want to find any extra fun work, I could 100% put you to work, big dog.
Right on, right on, right on. All right, you guys, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for hanging out. Hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's 208 is out.